Monica, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Me too. So let's get into your good work. And before we do, 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging. And I know the response was different everywhere from Florida to Missouri, California. But ultimately, how did you survive that time? And how has it reverberated into what you do today?
So, the pandemic was an interesting time for accountants as a whole, right? There was really a focus on having your numbers be correct, organized, being in compliance, particularly if you were going to be looking for any of the special programs that were available at that time, the paycheck protection, EIDL loans, things like that. So we saw an influx of people needing to get their information organized and accessible in a fashion that we had not seen before. Most of the time, we have rushes, right? Like right before tax season, right before things ending the year, things of that nature. People want to get organized. But I would say one of the greatest things that happened from that is that people have like business owners, small business owners, particularly, right? We are in the wheelhouse of working with companies that are, 500K to like 20 million is kind of our sweet spot. Um, their focus has really been in understanding the numbers. And I think that that's such an amazing shift for business owners to be in, particularly of that size.
Yeah. So let's get into exactly what you do on a daily basis and to really get to the marrow of the matter. Kids always cut through and get there. So I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career day. One of the kids in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Um, what we do is we make understanding your financial numbers fun. That's what I would say. We make if I wanted to kind of spice that up a bit, I would say we help business owners fall in love with their numbers. That's
So, yeah, no, I get it. And that's a great thing because numbers can be so daunting. So ultimately, when you were 12 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up?
oh, I wanted to be an attorney. That's what I wanted to be.
Okay.
I was one of those weird kids that like to watch Quincy. Do you remember that
Oh
show?
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
love that show. That show was like anyway, I wanted to be an attorney, but I think I found my calling in becoming an accountant because the numbers make sense. They're for me, right? Like I like to organize things. I would say that I'm a serial collector and I love organization. So being able to put things in the proper order came naturally to me. And I do feel like because it comes naturally, we have an ability to help business owners with something that they find so daunting, right? Like
Yeah.
people are really focused on what top line revenue is. They really want to sell X a year or but they're not really understanding how that money is being used or using that information to make better decisions. And that's something that we're just so passionate about.
So take me back to your childhood. How did wanting to be a lawyer, getting into the numbers game, how did all of these seeds get planted and get harvested into your career and what you do today?
So I think I'm really fortunate that I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandmother grew up, she was growing up during the Great Depression, and I remember hearing stories of her having to put quarters in like these boxes in the apartments to be able to get power, right? And not having enough in her life fueled her to really find ways to make money that she was passionate about. So she was a hairdresser, but I remember as a kid thinking, I mean, she has her own business, she had her own storefront, right? Like, I think a lot of the things that I do come from that experience. Like, she had her salon literally down the block from the house that we lived in because she wanted to do in her life what she was passionate about. And it was really important for her to be available to her family. And so I grew up watching my grandparents have businesses, my parents had businesses, right? And kind of really understanding what they were going through. My dad had a garage door company, and we used to get these bids in the mail. And I was a kid, and he taught me how to read bids by the time I was like 7 or 8 years old. And I would be able to look at these pieces of paper and decide whether it was a good deal or not and whether we should pursue it, right? So I think what's really interesting is that I grew up in a household where anything was possible, where and it was achievable through having businesses, right? Like and there were parts of them that definitely were like, I think they had planted the seed in my head to become an attorney when I was really young. They were like, you're gonna be a lawyer, you're gonna be a lawyer. Um, which I think, I would have definitely enjoyed, but I think what they didn't notice is what they were instilling in me was a love of business, was definitely a passion for creating a life how you want it, surrounded by the things that you're passionate about, and really not having anyone limit what your potential could be.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about inspirations. Who was the ultimate inspiration that allowed you to find your career path, to allow you to find your entrepreneurial confidence?
Um, That's I guess I could explain it a different way if I
Okay.
could. It's not
Sure.
necessarily a person that was inspirational. I think it was a situation. So I literally I got laid off twice in the span of 5 years because I was too efficient at doing what I did. So I would come in and revamp a small business's back office accounting. I would integrate and automate different systems, particularly with QuickBooks. And ultimately, once that was working, there was nothing else for us to expand on, and I would see myself out of a job.
Yeah.
And so almost 12 years ago, I decided that that would never happen to me again.
Yeah.
And definitely I've built my company, I've built Agile Planners on the premise of that we can come in and evaluate systems. We can come in, we can take some of that back office off of you. We can help you analyze your numbers, but we can be involved in a monthly, in a weekly, or in a semi, like there's so much potential there. But for me, I was never going to lose a job again
Yeah.
or see myself unemployed because I was too good at what I did. Like there had to be another way.
It's interesting because there are business models out there where that's their catchphrase. You know, we're going to work until you're out of our lives. But when you put all that energy in and you're doing it the right way and you have nothing at the end, it's such a bad, empty feeling.
It is, and it's like it was funny. I started the company, and I told my husband at the time, I was like, I'm gonna work part-time. I'm gonna have this like bookkeeping business, and I was gonna be a stay-at-home mom. My youngest child was 14. There was no need for me to be a stay-at-home mom at that point.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he probably knew it before I knew it, that I would build this business to be something else. I was kind of in a denial phase of what this would look like. And it took a while. I think that that's something that business owners need help with. Like I'm really big on having outsiders look at what's going on because sometimes you can't see what's clearly in front of you, right?
Yeah.
So in my original scope of what we were going to do, I was going to have a bookkeeping business. That was it, right? Like that's what
Yeah.
I was going to do. And I quickly realized that that wasn't my calling, right? My calling was really to help businesses grow and scale, right? By using tech and their finance to be able to make better decisions, right?
Yeah.
But it's an interesting space to be in because people don't know we exist and they don't know what to look for
Yeah.
when you think about it. It's like, how do I find, I know I need something, but I'm not really sure where to find it.
Yep.
Somebody should do it, but is it my CPA? Is it a bookkeeper? Is it a CFO? Right? Like who does that?
Yeah.
So it took a little bit of time to kind of find our footing
Yeah.
of what it is that we do. And now it's really about being able to reach people and say, okay, but what's keeping you up at night in your business, right? That's really what the bottom line is, especially in the climate that we're in right now, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk about tariffs, there's a lot of things going on, right? Like, so who could you lean on if you wanted to have a sidebar conversation in your business about something that's keeping you up at night, right? And you're maybe you could talk to your spouse, right? I'm sure they could hear you out, but if they're not involved in the business, you may not want to go to one of your employees and kind of put that burden on them.
Yeah.
So who would you talk to,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like it's about that. It's about how can we, and there's so many different things we look at because we might look at organizing the information in a different way. We might look at adding something to your tech stack. But sometimes in today's world, we remove things that are overlapping in people's tech stack more than add to it. Or you just might need someone to be able to really help you prioritize the next steps in your business, right? Like a lot of times it's interesting because people will ask me, and they're like, well, as an outsourced CFO or a fractional CFO, which is one of those things that I almost don't like for people to call me, right? I'm almost like that just sounds like a big fancy word for what we do, but truthfully, we're really looking at the forward trajectory of your business. That's what we're looking at, right?
Yeah.
So if business is good right now, now's the time to make sure that you've got access to capital, that you have planning for the next year, the next 5 years. Start talking about what that exit strategy is, right? Like really having those conversations. One of the things we're so passionate about is that without the right help, we're still seeing like one in every five businesses is what's going to make it
Yeah.
in the first 5 years, right? Like, how do we change that?
Yeah.
How do we make it like there's these businesses that we see like it's interesting, right? Like I talk to business owners all the time, and one of the things I love is like I'm like, show me all your spreadsheets. I know you have 7 spreadsheets that you're running your business on. Let me see what you're tracking, right? Like talk to me about how you keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, right? That's really what we provide. We provide that sounding, and there might be bookkeeping that comes with that, right? Like
Sure.
there might be that. We might have to step in and do things like that. But truthfully, all we're doing is having conversations about how we can get the businesses to the end result of what they're looking for.
So I got to know, as someone that works in numbers and money, what was the first big purchase that you made that really got your heart pounding? That you were like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And you did it. You were on that end of spending the money. What was it you got?
Um, I think the biggest thing for me, it's always about the tech that we invest in.
Yeah.
Always, always. It's funny, we will run into businesses where we look and they're just not ready to upgrade computers. They're not ready to like, switch out monitors. And I'm like, but do you realize how that's kind of holding back your team's potential, right? Like
Yeah.
what would it be like if they could get through things faster? Our tax accountant is always like, really, did you really buy all these computers this year? And I was like, yeah, we did. We absolutely did. I'm
Yeah.
like, if there's new tech out there, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get
Okay.
it. We're gonna sample.
I dig it. Yeah. That was probably my first real big thing on my own. I got a Packard Bell in 1993 at a Best Buy. And I was like, wow, dial-up modem, encyclopedias on a CD-ROM. It was like the whole world opened up. So I get it. So let me ask you this. If you could meet one person on the planet right now that you find inspirational or fascinating that might help you on your journey or just in general, who would you love to meet and talk to?
Um, be, honestly, it would always be, I always say this, it would be Walt Disney. Like
Okay.
to have that passion, that creativity to like not let anyone stand in your way to build what you want to build.
Yeah.
I think that that type of belief in yourself is just amazing. I would love to be surrounded by people like him.
Yeah, for sure. So, what is it that gets you up every day? What's the motivation for you to do the work that you do and to also take care of your soul? Do you see it as like a philosophy of equilibrium? How does it work for you?
For me, I don't see a difference in who I am and what I do. It's so ingrained in what
Yeah,
I do. I will talk to people anywhere, everywhere, restaurants, Walmart. I'm just genuinely curious. And I'm also what I would call a serial connector, right? Like I always want to know what someone does so that I can connect them to someone else who may need that. I'm always interested in understanding how people work, what they do, and what drives them to do it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's something that I think people light up. Like even when you ask me what I do, my entire vibe changes
Yeah.
because I just love what we do, right?
Yeah.
And I love to see that in other people.
So the cornerstone of a good entrepreneurial spirit is that thirst for risk. What's the biggest risk that you've taken in your life?
My biggest risk, I didn't, what I thought was the biggest risk was going out on my own.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like, I think there's, particularly if you grow up, even though I came from a family of entrepreneurs, it was so much safer, right? To have a job, to know that you were getting a steady paycheck. In the world of benefits, I remember people, my mom was a government employee. So she was like, get a government job, you get great benefits, right? Having that umbrella under you. But I think that we lose who we are as people when we don't pursue our passions, you
Yeah.
know. And for people that are out here, it's that are entrepreneurs, I think we say it, but I don't think people really understand how hard it is. You know, like I was attending a family event this weekend, right? And something happened with a team member. Like you don't really get time off. You're always, if something happens and you're needed, you're jumping in, right? Like there is a sacrifice for doing this. But the sacrifice isn't as big as the reward. The reward of feeling passionate for what you do and loving what you do every day and knowing that you're not doing it for a paycheck is huge.
So let's say you have a dream tonight, you run into the 18-year-old version of you. You can give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived and chosen, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you impart?
I would say to my younger self, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Okay. That's wisdom. That's definitely wisdom. So let me ask you this. So dealing in the world of accounting and numbers and business can be a serious world. So let's say you walk into a room of everybody that you've worked for in your life, all of your clients. You swim through that group of people and go to a podium, and you could tell them one fun story, one fun anecdote. The first concert you saw, the jumping out of an airplane, outrunning a crocodile. What would be a fun story that may humanize that room and may cast you in a little bit of a different light?
I mean, I've got to say, I'm a typical accountant. I don't feel like I have fun stories like that. Um, what would it be? I
Or a cool place you visited, one of the fun play. In fact, before we got on, you had mentioned going underground to Disney.
Oh yeah. I do think I like do the things like it's interesting. I think that as much as we're accountants and we're like don't spend the money and be cautious and all these other things. I'm also a very big proponent of work hard, play hard, right? So take the trips,
Yeah.
do the things, right? Tomorrow's not guaranteed. The work will be there tomorrow. But for us, I would say one of the things people don't know about us or that aren't really close to us know about us. Like we've done probably every animal encounter type situation that you can do, right? So we've swam with the pigs in Exuma, we've swam with the dolphins, fed baby otters, giraffes, things like that. Like if there's an experience, I've held a Bengal tiger in my hands. Whatever it is that brings you joy, right? That's what you work hard for. So definitely don't lose sight of that. Do the
Yeah.
thing.
You know, I'm a big cat person, so I imagine that if I was to handle an animal like that, at the core of it, it's going to act like a cat, and it's going to make me want to treat it like I would treat a house cat. But you have to be careful with those animals because it's like any other thing that's wild. 1 second. So how much did they have to coach you on, like being at a place where everything was cool?
We actually, so in this experience, they were actually, I want to say they were like about like 2 months old. So they were still very playful. So think of a kitten, but with
Yeah.
huge paws that could actually hurt you, right?
Yes.
Um, but at the same time, because they're somewhat domesticated, they are like big cats. Yeah, so it wasn't too I will say with the Bengal tiger though, by the time we got around to it, he wasn't as in a good mood as he was in the beginning, and
I got you.
I totally respect that.
Yeah.
I'm like, if the animal doesn't want to participate, then I'm gonna walk away.
That's it. You got to
Yeah.
exit. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done, accomplished, and evolved into at this point, what are you the proudest of?
I'm definitely the proudest of the family that we've become. I've raised two amazing young men. I'm now a grandmother. I think that everything I've done in my life has always been for all of us as a whole. So that's what definitely for me, it's legacy. It's how are we changing the dynamics of our family? How are we making sure that we are present and spending time with one another? That's the most important thing.
Right on. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone you know, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I am I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. I think I'm no nonsense, yet at the same time, someone that people know is always in their corner, whether it's a client or family. Like I'll always be there, but I'm gonna shoot straight all the time.
So if anyone wants to hire you, they want to reach out, they have questions, they're interested, any of the good business, where do they go?
Agileplanners.com. You can schedule a right fit call, even if you just want to talk. Like one of the things that I am most passionate about is book the right fit call. Let's just have a conversation. Tell me what's keeping you up at night. Like I'm here for it. I'm here to help you through it.
Okay, excellent. Monica, thank you. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Jeff.
You bet. Thank you. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.